Hey guys, Ken from TomoChain here. Hope you're having a happy holidays. On today's episode of Spill the Tea, we're going to be talking about the censorship that a number of crypto YouTube influencers are facing, and what are the ramifications about censorship, and is decentralized technology the solution today? So, over the last couple of days, you may have noticed that a number of major high-profile crypto influencers have had their YouTube accounts they've received strikes. What that means is that they can't upload content for the next 7 days. And if their accounts receive 3 strikes in total, well, those channels will be closed. And that's pretty scary. Right now, we don't know why these particular accounts are being targeted or why their videos are being deleted. But it does bring up the larger conversation around content censorship and content creator censorship. Let's talk about what's been happening over the last year. Specifically YouTube, the granddaddy of them all. They were in a fight with the FTC, and there was a settlement that's recently happened where Google has to pay $170 million to the FTC in violation of the COPPA Act. COPPA Act is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And essentially what it means is that advertisers are not allowed to target children under the age of 13 without their parents' consent. And supposedly, YouTube is in violation of this. As a result, in addition to the $170 million they have to fork over, there are new policies coming into play. Starting in 2020, January, content creators are going to have to define whether their content is child-friendly or it's not. If it's safe for kids, what that means is that essentially all that content is going to be advertisement-free. That means content creators will not receive a penny for the content that they create. That doesn't allow for a lot of these content creators to actually make a living, right? On the flip side, if their content is for adults, the other problem is that the advertisers have actually been putting down significant pressure on Google about what kind of content they're willing to have their advertisements on. So those content creators, specifically say those who talk about video games or anime, any kind of content that could potentially have violence, bad language, anything that could be on the extreme side, well, a lot of them are receiving the demonetization hammer. Demonetization hammer. Essentially, their content is just being demonetized. They're not receiving any more revenue on existing content that they've uploaded. So on one hand, content creators next year on YouTube, if it's child-friendly, they're not going to receive advertising revenue. If it's too extreme, they're not going to receive advertising revenue. So it's forcing content creators to come into this middle ground, and which is not actually very well defined. What does it mean to be too violent, too extreme? What does it mean to be children-friendly, kid-friendly? It's not clear. So a number of content creators, they may end up having to close shop, or they're going to start seeing that their income is going to significantly decline. As a result of the censorship that's been happening, and that is going to continue to happen, decentralized opportunities are arising. And we have seen a number of potential platforms that have been coming up over the last several years. And so the question is, should content creators move over? We saw that earlier this year, PewDiePie decided to move some of his content to DLive, to do live streaming content there. And DLive has been growing significantly. Supposedly they have well over some millions of users that are already using their platform. They recently signed a deal with Theta in order to allow for a more effective content delivery for the streaming service. So that is potentially a way where content creators could start, using some of these decentralized services like DLive, or using Library as another solution, another P2P way of sharing content on the blockchain. So now the question is whether or not content creators should shift over to decentralized technology entirely. And the answer to that is not yet. There just isn't enough revenue to be generated, not enough followers, not enough views to generate what these content creators need to make a living off of. However, that said, due to the censorship that they are facing today, it is a great idea for them to start to expand and to explore other platforms, and to be very vocal about that. Be vocal about the fact that they're not happy about censorship, and that they are now shifting content over to other decentralized platforms like BitTubers, DLive, Library, Uptrend, and others that are going to be coming out. Even on these platforms, though, keep in mind, though they will allow for the sharing of content, it doesn't mean that it will be entirely censorship resistant. And at least the content that people will be able to view. There will still have to be some form or some regulations put in place to control the content there. We don't want certain pornographic material there. We don't want something of extreme violence. And that the reason for that is, unless it's a purely decentralized platform where there is no ownership at all, no centralized company, someone will be held accountable by different government authorities across the world. So as we move forward, yes, we should absolutely be looking at which platforms that are run on top of blockchain, that are decentralized, that our content creators could shift over to. And we should be encouraging them to do so, because with their large audiences, they can actually make a movement. So identify the platforms that you like the most. That would be my suggestion, and share it with your favorite influencers, not just crypto influencers, all influencers, and try to encourage them to at least experiment. Try to dabble in some of the other platforms and see, is it effective? Is it working? Ultimately, hopefully, we will start to see a number of other platforms coming up that we all can enjoy, which are not centrally controlled, where the data, our private data, is not being controlled by them, not for free at least, right? Where we actually have control of our own information, and we can actually allow advertisers to target us if they also pay us, as well as the content creators. So that's the episode for Spill the Tea today. I hope that you got something out of it, and please do ask questions in the comments below for the next episode. And please like, subscribe, and share it with all of your fellow friends in the space. See you next time. Have a wonderful new year. Thank you very much.